Welcome back to the Beatrice YouTube channel. In today's class, we are going to learn how to make this beautiful plus size bustier with Basque waistline. It has a Basque waistline and also a deep plunging yoke. So I'm going to take you through how you can do this to achieve a perfect V on your plunging yoke and how to also pad this as well. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So this is a bustier for a plus size. From the measurements that we have, you will already understand. So I'm working with a bust of 50 inches. Okay, the bust we are working with here is 50 inches, the shoulder is 18, the bust point is 13 and half, 19 for the under bust, half length of 21 inches for the front, and then for the back the half length is 18 and half. So we have 2.5 inches difference. Person is busty, and then for the waist circumference is 45 inches. So that's the measurements we're going to be working with. I've already created my mini bodice here, just like we normally do. You mark your shoulder here, mark it to get your armhole line, come in by half an inch, connect, take your neck width, come down by 1 inch and connect for your shoulder slope. Can you do 1.25 or 1.5 here for the front? So this is my armhole line. Okay, this is my under bust and this is my half length. So now to get your bust point for a busty person, you can measure it on the person, or if you cannot measure, if you cannot get it exactly on the person, just make sure you get the under bust. That's easy, under the bust where the bra is here. So once you get that point from your under bust, for you to have enough room for the bust, to get more cup room for the bust, you can come up from your under bust between 5 to 6 inches depending on how busty the person is. For me, I'm going to be working with 5.5 inches. So from this under bust here, I'm going to come up by 5.5 inches, and then I'm going to make that into, you can see all that we have for the cup there. I'm going to make that into a straight line, and I'm going to use this as my bust point. Okay, so that is a simple way of getting your bust point. So if you mark that from the upper part, this is around 13.5 thereabouts, or 13.25, and you can see that I have 13.5 here. So now that I have that, what I'm going to do now is to mark my bustier. You can use any type of bustier you want. You can use your armhole princess dart, you can use your straight dart, but for this tutorial I'm going to be using the armhole princess dart. So for that, you need to note your bust span. That's the distance between one nipple to another. For this person, it is 10.5. okay, 10.5 divided by 2, you're going to divide that by 2, and that's going to give me around 5.25. that's 5.25. So here on the bust points, I'm going to mark the 5.25 here. So whatever you mark here on your under bust and your half length, you're going to deduct half inch from that. Okay, so I've marked 5.25 here, so it means here I'm going to mark 4.75. so that's like deducting half from what I marked there. So I'm going to mark that here, and I'll mark it on the, excuse me, I'll mark it on the half length as well. So if you mark 5 inches here, if you deduct half an inch, you mark 4.5 here, 4.5 here. I hope you understand that. So once you're done with that, you're going to take your straight ruler, you connect like this for this, and then you connect like that for your under bust. So like I said, it's an armhole princess dart. So I'm going to come to my armhole area here, and then I'm going to come down by, you can do this place where you have your mid armhole line, or you can come down by 4 inches or 4.5 inches depending on the one you want. So I'll just do 4.25, which is here. So once I have that, I'm going to take my curved ruler, and then I'm going to connect like that. Please get a better curve, I'm just making do with what I have. So you're going to connect it like this, but make sure that you are connecting it very well. It has to give you a smooth curve when you are done. Okay, so that is my first line. So after that, the next thing is to take your actual dart. So for this, I'm going to take a dart of 2 inches. Okay, so from here, I'm going to mark 2 inches. You can do 2 to 3 inches, or let me just take 2.25, 2.25. So I'm going to take 2.25 on this point, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the under bust, and then you're going to make that into a straight line. So once you make that into a straight line, you are going to take the curved ruler again, and then you are going to form your curve. So now, because of the size of the bust that we are working with, you cannot get this to your bust point. You can see how long we have, a distance of 5.5 inches. So you just get it to somewhere around here, but make sure that your curve is very, very nice. Okay, the curve has to come really nice at this point. So I'm placing it like this, and then I'm going to take my curved ruler and then create a curve. So you can see I was able to get it up to here. That's just like half, like 1 inch below my bust point. Just make sure that you have a really nice curve there. So once that is out of the way, we're going to take a dart on this armhole. So from here, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. Okay, from here, and then I'm going to take my curve again, and then I'm going to connect. I'm going to continue connecting it, but try as much as possible to get a smooth curve from what you have coming. Okay, so just like that. I hope you can see it. I don't know how to place my hand so that I can see it well. So you can see. So when you're drawing this curve now, you need to extend it, because we are going to replace back the dart that we have taken. Remember that I came down by 2 inches. So here I'll come up from where the armhole stop here. I'm going to come up by the 2 inches again, and then I'm going to redraw my armhole curve. So you make sure that this curve is really curved as well, so that you not have anything packing on your armhole. So this is going to be my new armhole curve. So this is what we have for the bustier. So the next thing now is to take our bust dart. Remember that the half length that we have for the front is 21 inches, and then for the back is 18.5. If you subtract that, you're going to have a shortage of 2.5 inches. So now my bust is 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. So here you can see my 12.5 stop here, but I have taken a dart here. So I'm going to mark what I have, and then I'm going to replace that back on this side. So the same thing for this here. I'm going to mark what I have here. I have 4.75. I'm going to skip this dart so that I don't have a shortage, and then I'm going to continue taking my measurement. 11.45 is the round waist measurement, divided by 4 is going to give you 11.25. So here is my 11.25 here. I'm going to go ahead now and connect that together. So once I connect that, I'll be able to take my bust dart. So you just need to extend these lines. So here for your bust dart, the 2.5 inches shortage that we have, that's what I'm going to be taking as the bust dart. So on my bust point line, I'm going to come down by the 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect that like this for my bust dart. Okay, so I'm going to shade out all the darts that we are going to be taking now, so that you can see it. So this has a plunging neckline. So when you are doing a plunging neckline for a plus size person, you have to be very, very careful. That's why it is advisable to use this type of dart. A armhole princess that goes towards the armhole, so it will give you enough room space to maneuver around this place. If it were to be a straight dart, it's going to come, if it's a shoulder that is going to come like this, then it may be a bit difficult for you to maneuver around here. But with this type of dart, nothing is happening at the chest area. So whatever yoke that you want to create, you'll be able to create it easily. So now for my yoke now, like I said, it's going to be a deep plunging yoke. So you may want to do that with your pencil first before you go ahead and mark it with your marker. So now I'm going to use my bust point as a reference point. It's going to be deep, even up to where my bust area is. So now from there, I'm going to go ahead and create this curve. I'm going to link it to this place, but at the same time, like I said, this person is very busty, so you cannot do something like this. For example, if you do something like this, it's going to expose a lot. So I'm going to take it up a little bit, just like this. You can see I'm using my free hand. You can also use a curve for this, but I just want to use my free hand first so that later I can use my curve to smoothen it out. So I'm creating like a height here, making sure that by the time I'm done creating this yoke, no part of the bust is going to be out. Okay, okay, so that is my first sketch. So you can look at it. If you like it, you can smoothen it out with your curve now. So the bust point is my reference point. So here I'm going to just mark something here up to my armhole. You can see, so the only part that's going to be exposed is around here. So now the next thing is for us to try to link this back to what we have here. So here I want it to have like a height here. It may not be too high, but I don't want the bust to be showing, so I think doing something like this is fine. So from there I'm going to find a way to link them together. We are doing all of this, we are taking all these precautions because this person is very busty and she does not really want to show. So as much as you are doing a plunging neckline, you should also be careful of how much cleavage you want to show. So you can see the line that I have here. So if I look at it and I assess it and I see that it is okay for me, I'm just going to go ahead and use my marker to rewrite it so that you can see it well. So again, this design, the waistline that we are going for this is a Basque waistline. So to get my Basque waistline, I'm going to extend this that leg all the way to the end, just like this. Okay, so from your waistline for your basque, from 4 to 5 inches is fine. So what I have on my paper is around 3.75 from my waistline, which is okay for me. But if this is not okay for you, you can join more paper to it so that you can create your basque waistline. So to do that, I'm just going to try to close this dart. Okay, I'm going to place the darts on each other so that I can close it, and then I'll be able to draw my basque waistline. So here you're going to place your ruler and then you're going to draw your basque. But for me, I want you to, like, the shape of this person, this is really not, this is our waistline, but our true waistline is very, very close to our under bust. So for this to have fitting, I want it to be to get that bust where our waist is really inside. So I'm not going to be drawing it on this part. I'm going to come down by maybe 1 inch from the waistline, and that is where I'm going to draw the basque. So I'm going to still reconcile this when I'm drafting the back. Okay, so it's very important that you understand the body of the person that you are doing this for, so that way it will come out really nice. So this is what I have so far. I'm going to take my ruler now and I'm going to also mark out my neckline. So for the back, this is the back. I've already drafted my back just the way you draft your normal back. This is my zipper allowance for the back, and I took a dart of 1 inch, half an inch on both sides. So this partner does not have allowance, so you have to bear that in mind. You can either add it, sorry, now, or you add this when you are drafting your fabric. So now for the yoke at the back, you can do the back without the yoke, but I also want you to have the yoke as well. So for this yoke, I'm going to have like a coat shoulder. Okay, then before I have my spiral off shoulder sleeve. So for the spiral sleeve, I want it to be on the fabric, not on the net that I'm using, because the net is not so strong. This is the net that I'm going to use for my yoke. I'm using this net because, like I said, it's a plunging neckline. I don't want to use a sheer net. I don't want to use like a tool, a skin mesh, so that even if a little bit of the bust wants to show, if it's something like this, it's not going to be so obvious. Okay, so that's why I prefer to use this. Okay, so this is what I'm using, and I don't want my sleeve to be part of it, so I just want it to be on the coat shoulder area, which is going to be this upper part below. So because of that, I'm going to come down by the same measurement that I did for the front, from my armhole area. Okay, so you're going to mark that, and when you mark it, You can either make it straight like this, but I don't want my back to be too covered, so I'm going to connect it to the depth of the back that I want, and I'm going to be using my armhole line as the reference point. I'm going to take my ruler. If you have a better ruler, please use it. I don't. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler like this now, and then I'm going to connect it to that point, just like this. So you can see this is what I have. So you can just use this to cut out your yoke like that, but I still also want it to have like a keyhole. So now this upper part is going to be the yoke, while this lower part is going to be the bodice. So now I'm going to extend my dart up to that part because I want to cut the darts separately. I want to cut through the dart. So now this is how I'm going to cut my dart. So for the keyhole that I want to have, here I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my neckline depth, and then I'm going to connect that to my neckline with, this is 3 inches. You can maintain the 3 inches, but I feel 3.5 will be better for me, so I'm going to increase mine to 3.5. You're going to have to do the same thing for the front as well. So I'm using 3.5 inches by 1 inch for the back. So now for my keyhole, I'm just going to come down by maybe half an inch or 1 inch here, and then I'm going to take my curved ruler and then connect like this. So the curve is basically what I am following. Whatever shape that this curve gives me is what I'm going to go with. So you can see I'm going to place it like this, and then I'm going to make a curve. So it's better this way. So I'm going to place it like this, and then I'm going to curve it to that point, that half an inch that I came down with, and that's going to be the keyhole that I'm going to have for my back. So now all this part is going to be off. This is going to be the yoke for the back from here upwards. I hope you understand that. So now I'm going to grab my scissors, and then I'm going to cut this out. So I've gone ahead to cut it out on my fabric. This is the center front. Okay, this is the part you're going to sew to the side. So remember that you are working with a deep plunging neckline, and the easiest way you can sew a plunging neckline is by cutting your center front open. So if you notice, you will see that the center front was not cut on fold, it's open. This is the main fabric, and this is the lining. So you are going to open it up so that you can sew your yoke to it and still maintain that plunging deep V neckline that we have there. So this is the center front, this is the side front, this is my yoke cut on this net fabric, and this is my back. So for the back, I went ahead to close my dart. You can see the dart is closed, and then I cut it on one single piece so that I don't have to take any dart at the back again. So this is what I have, and this is the yoke for the back as well. So this is how it's going to sit. So here you need to label it. You can see that I labeled this because it's going to look similar and it may confuse you. So this is where the armhole is going to be. So, and this is my shoulder, so you can see. So if you don't label it, you'll be confused. So this is how it is going to sit. So before I remove it, I'm going to notch it to indicate the armhole part again so that I don't get confused. So now I'm going to set the back aside and then work on the front. So for the front, before you remove your pattern, you need to notch where the yoke, where the yoke stops. For me, it is this place, and you can see my notch clearly here. So I place the notch there so that I will know where to sew. So once you are done with that, you are going to detach your pin, and then you're going to cut out your wording. I'm using soft wording for it. There are two types of wording. This one is the hard one, and this is the soft one. I'm using the soft one because I don't want it too strong. And I'm also going to use my interfacing, my st my cotton st for this. So I'm going to be adding this to both my lining and my fabric before adding the wording. So I'm going to cut it, fuse them, and then take it to the sewing machine so that we can see how to join them together. I've gone ahead to fuse my interfacing to it. You can see I fused the st to the lining, and then for the main fabric I fused both st and my soft wording. This is not the hard wording, it's a very soft one. So this is all that I have. So now I'm going to start joining them together. So to start joining them, I'm going to join the center front, okay, to the side front separately. Okay, so this is my front and this is the side for the lining. You are going to join them separately before you join them to the main front. I'm just trying to arrange it. So this is what it looks like. Remember, the notch that we have here is where the yoke is going to start. So for the main fabric only, I'm going to place them on each other at the center front, and then I'm going to sew from that notch all the way to the end. You are not going to do that on your lining. You are doing this only on your main fabric. So once you do that, you are going to place the side against each other like this. You're going to place the side against each other, and then you're going to sew the side. You're going to join the center up to here. But for the lining, you're not going to join the center. The only thing you're going to join for your lining is just the center front to the side front. Okay, you're going to join your center front to your side front like this, and then you are going to leave it open at the center front. You are not going to join the center front together. You are only going to do, you can see that I did not notch it. You're only going to do that on your main fabric. So I'll go and do all of that and then bring it back to show us what we have. So I've gone ahead to sew it, and I think I showed a little bit of how I sew it. So for the main fabric, I joined it at the center, then I sewed the side to the center front. So this is what we have. You're going to use your iron to open up your seam, so you can see all that bust area. You can see how big, how voluminous it is looking. Okay, so now the next thing is to sew the yoke to it. So you're going to bring your yoke, you're going to detach it, and mind you, when you're cutting your yoke for the front, it has to be on fold at the center, unlike what we did for the main bodies. So this center have to be on yoke. So now you're going to detach your yoke from the net, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to run you through how I'm going to sew it on the sewing machine. So basically, this is where we're going to insert it, where this stops. That is where the yoke is going to be. You can see this is our yoke. So now for the front, I'm going to show you, but for the back, it's easy. Once you note where the yoke is supposed to be, you're not going to get confused. So this is your main bodice, okay, and this is the yoke. So once you label, you can see I've labeled it. The sh is my shoulder and the ah is my armhole. So I know this is the side for my armhole, and once you place it, you will know that the shoulder is supposed to be up. So you are going to sew it like this, and when you sew it, you're going to bring in your lining and then use it to turn it out. So you look for the lining that corresponds with it, and you just place it like this and then turn them, so the back is easy. So now I'll go over to the sewing machine to sew the front. Okay, so now we're on the machine. This is the bodice, and this is our net, our yoke. So what I'm going to do now is to first sew the first side of the yoke. So I'm going to start sewing it from the upper part here. So you can pin it first, or you can just sew it directly. I'm just trying to open up the yoke. So from here, you are going to place it like this, and then you are going to sew. So once you sew it, you are going to sew and then stop where yoke is supposed to stop. So you can see the seam allowance is already opened there for you. So it's very very easy to sew. You just follow the exact seam allowance that you worked with. So I just pinned it now, you can see, and then I'm going to place it under my sewing machine, and then I'll sew it. So I pinned because this net is very soft and I don't want it to be dragging. Make sure you don't drag your net so that it's not going to go past where it's supposed to go. So you just carefully and then you slowly sew it. You can see how I'm sewing this. You keep sewing it, and once you get to where it is, you can see the seam allowance that we have there. You are going to open up your seam allowance and then you're just going to sew through it. It's very very easy. You're going to sew like this. So one side of the yoke is done now. You can see one side of our yoke is done. The next thing is to open it up like this, and then the same seam allowance, that's what you are going to use to sew the other one. So you can see I've opened it out. So I'm going to place the other one like this as well and use the same seam allowance to sew it. I'm just going to open it up like this, and then open the seam allowance and then place it under the sewing machine, and then I'm going to sew on it. We are going to sew it back to the front. You can also sew directly like this, or you pin it to the bodice just like we did for the first one. You are not pinning it, just make sure that you are not dragging your net when you are sewing, so that it does not drag more than it should. So you are going to gently continue sewing it like this. So once you don't drag it, it's going to match up and align properly. Now I'm done sewing it, and this is what I have. So you can see the bead that we have here. You can see how sharp that bead. So now the next thing is to bring in your lining to cover all of this. That's why we did not cover the lining. So you bring your two linings and then look for the one that corresponds with each side. You just use them to cover each other. You will easily see the one that corresponds. So you just use them to cover them up like this. You will easily see the one that corresponds with each other. So what you need to do now is to flip it like this, and then you can pin it down and then follow the seam line that you already have there. You're going to pin it down and then you're going to sew on it. So you're just going to place it on it like this. I've pinned this, and then I'm going to follow the seam that I already created here, and then I'm just going to sew. So that is how you are going to fix the lining. I'm sewing on the exact seam line that I already have there. So you do that gently. That way you'll be able to cover the wording and everything that you are doing. But when you are sewing it, make sure that you don't take the other side together with it. So this is the same thing you are going to do for the second side as well. Okay, so you can see it is neatly turned now. You can see the inside, and you can see the sharp view that we have for the yoke. So that is easily achievable because of the seam that we have at the center front here. So if you want to do a plunging neckline like this and you use that method, it's very easy to do. So this is the front all turned. You can see that I've also turned the side seam as well so that it can be neat. And these are the two back pieces. Just like I explained, it's easy to do the back. So you just sew in your yoke and then turn it. But before you sew it, you can see I used my bias to turn the open part. That's the keyhole part of the neckline before joining it with the other part of the body. So this is what it looks like now. This is the zipper allowance here, and then this part is just going to mix with each other like that, and this is what the back looks like. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the skirt, and then I'm attach it to the bodice. So this is what the dress looks like when everything is done. You can see the basque effect. So you can go ahead and embellish this if you want. I fixed this sleeve to it, and I took some clips of how you can do this. It's a different method. This consumes less fabric and it's easier to make. So I'm going to be uploading a tutorial on how I made the sleeve as well. So this is what it looks like on the back. You can see the back is equally looking nice and the inside is neat. This is what the inside looks like. So make sure that you try as much as possible to get something neat.